while I sit here, figure things out, making sure my timer's all good, and seeing if anyone is going to arrive. So I'm going to go ahead and just get my hair done a little bit. All right. I'm going to wait a minute because that thing decided to go awry again, and I am not too pleased. Not pleased at all. It's okay. It happens. It happens. Some things fail, and that's the whole reason why we're going over this today. So, hello out there to everyone. My name is Joe Faulkner. I am the marketing specialist over here at Realty Partners Sarasota. So, everyone that's out there, and thank y'all for tuning in. I truly appreciate your support and concern and all that business. So, I understand that everybody showed up to go ahead and figure out what it means in terms of failure in real estate. This is something that happens a lot. In fact, the latest statistic that I found said that within 5 years of someone getting their license, 87 to 95% of real estate agents drop out of the game. And then if you're within that 2-year period, that rate increases. I don't know exactly what it is. The article just stated that it was going to increase after that. So it's really interesting to state. Now, there are a few reasons as to why that is, but I'm going to go over the top 3 that I've noticed in the majority of articles that I've read about why this occurs. And the first one is, let me just go ahead and refer to my notes here, unrealistic expectations. So that's the first one, is that a lot of people expect something a lot more than what they're prepared to handle. The second one is fear of rejection. That's the biggest one that I've come to understand is the whole reason why agents fail. And then the third one is actually the most paradoxical one of all, and that's fear of success. So, and we'll go over that one later. It's a little bit complicated to go ahead and break down, so I'll give you the knowledge when we get there. So to go ahead and start off, we're going to start with the simple thing, unrealistic expectations. There are a lot of agents out there that are really starry-eyed and they have on their rose-colored glasses and they think, oh, the real estate thing, yeah, that'll be great. I'll have my broker be my boss and I'll just get all these leads coming on in and I won't have to do much of work or anything. This will be great and I'll be bathing in money, but in the year. Really hate to break it to you, but that's not the case at all. There is actually a lot more that goes into that. It's not just that you go into school and then magically you're going to graduate with $100,000 under your belt. That's not going to happen, and it's not ever going to happen unless you have a rich uncle that'll go ahead and give that to you and make your life all fine and dandy for however many days until you actually start succeeding. I will go over this actually on January 2nd, where I will put on another long form post on the honest costs of what it means to get in the real estate game. It's not as easy as everyone thinks. There's a lot of startup costs that go into it, and a lot of times new agents, they don't quite grasp that. And that's something that they do need to grasp in order to make sure that they are successful. Just a small little tidbit is that a lot of times they don't understand that you need to be able to support yourself for about 6 months before you actually start seeing any money come in. It's a real thing. It does happen to a majority of the new agents, and a lot of times they don't embrace that or they don't know that, and that often can impede their own success. So going off of that though, that's what a lot of times that the real estate schools don't tell you, is that this real estate is not a normal job. It's not the 9 to 5 where your boss tells you what to do, how to do things, how to go about this, how to go about that. Sure, in real estate, you can go ahead and get a mentorship and you can have someone guide you through the process or guide you through the first year or so of real estate, but it's not the normal job. It's not, you don't have someone hanging over you going like, hey, Bob, did you get those papers in today? I mean, there's normal paperwork for the transactions and whatnot, but you don't have someone trying to put your nose to the grindstone for you. That's actually going to be your job, because it is now your business in real estate. It is now you that are controlling yourself. And that's a lot of the glory that people choose, or a lot of people, hold on, the glory exactly of that, of being independent, is why a lot of people go into real estate in the first place. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. A lot of agents forget that, where they have to be more self-disciplined, where they have to make sure that they plan things out and that they're not just impulsive about their own actions. No one but you is responsible for your own actions. There's no one else. This is your business. And if you are just starting out though, and you're going, I got no idea how to do a business plan, what am I gonna do? Good news is that NAR, on their website, they actually have an article on how to write a business plan to go ahead and help you out with that. And then there are tons of marketing experts online. Yes, it is going to take you a while if you don't know a thing about marketing to get your plan up and running. But if you have that 6 months worth of money to go ahead and back you up, then call that yourself going back to school. If you choose not to invest in your career, you're making a very fatal mistake and you're setting yourself up for failure. And I mean that. It's not just one of those things where it's all bouncy bouncy and you just think, oh, I'll be fine. That's not how that works. It's not going to work. And if you think the magical thinking is just going to go ahead and get you through, hate to break it to you, but we're all out of pixie dust over here. Okay, so yeah. The other thing is that nothing is going to be handed to you, and that's just something that you need to embrace. It's not, buyers aren't just going to be like, oh, look at this, and then just fall right on you. Sure, I mean, it's maybe if you win the lottery that can happen, or maybe the equivalent thereof, but it's not, again, that magical thinking is not going to help you. If I just go ahead and think that's not the best marketing strategy. You really need to think in concrete terms and go from there. Also, another thing about those unrealistic expectations is that sometimes a short-sighted outlook plays a key part in this. The one thing that you need to consider in your expectations is that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a way to achieve those types of goals. You need to consider the long game. You need to consider what's going to be happening in terms of your long-term trajectory. Because if you don't take that into account, you're setting yourself up for failure again. It's an honest look at what you're getting yourself into. Just like starting any business that you're going to be getting into, you need to think about your long-term gains. I went to this event a couple weeks back. It was something to do with the West Coast Public Relations Association, I think is what their name is. If anybody out there is watching, I'm sorry, I got the name wrong. But a lot of these people that were at this meeting, they started their own business, but they mentioned a lot of times that for the first year or two was a really rough start. You don't have a name for yourself. You're trying to create awareness and you're trying to create a brand that stands out above everybody else. That takes time. And if you don't unless you strike gold and you get something viral that goes through the interwebs like nobody's freaking business, then yay, great, awesome. But that's more of the exception than the rule. That is not going to happen unless either unless you time it just right, you have the right content, and then you have the right audience. Those are three things that make things go viral, and it's not so simple, or it's not so easy of an equation as that. Sure, it's simple, but it's not easy. Much like real estate is. Real estate can be simple, but it's not easy. So that's the one thing that you have to keep in mind. But that short-sighted view, yeah, you need to consider the long game. If you think about the ethics talk that I did with David Jacobs last week, that can also play into that as well. The ethics is something that can hinder a lot of people from growth. They think, oh, you know what? I really need to eat this month. I really need maybe if I just cut this little corner off, no one will notice. Spoiler alert, people will notice. And getting in trouble with the law is not something that you want to do, or even worse, getting in trouble with your broker. It's just not something that you want to do, and it's not something that's going to help you grow in the long term. You can't let greed control you. That's just a thing. And you need to be aware of what is driving your actions. If you immediately think and panic is not a source to come from. Fear is not the place to come from when you're making decisions. If you base your decisions off of fear, you're setting yourself up for failure. Remember that. Don't take shortcuts. Don't let fear control you. I know that's easier said than done, trust me. And gotta let those expectations go. So after all this, what can you do to make sure that A, you're grounded, B, you know what you're doing, and C, you have realistic expectations? Well, there are 3 different stages. If you are yet to get your license, you need to do a lot of talking. You need to get a hold of every person in the real estate business that you can. Get the most information that you can. This is very, very important because you need to know what it's like before you get into that pool. You don't just want to go like, oh yeah, you know what? I feel like swimming with sharks today. Yeah, I'm gonna go do that. Sure, if you're crazy and spontaneous, that would work out. But wouldn't you rather like to know the behavior of sharks, what not to do to go ahead or to evade a shark's hungry gaze? Don't you want to know how to do that? Wouldn't you rather know how to do that rather than pay someone to just be like, oh, sure, I'll take you out to swim for sharks. And the next thing you know, your arm's missing. I'd rather know how to keep my arm. I need this arm. I need it to type things and to reach for objects and also to dance poorly. So those are just a few things to go ahead and keep in mind. So, okay, if you just got your license, I would highly recommend to throw every expectation that you have about real estate out of the window, unless that expectation is that you're going to be working a lot, and you're not going to see a paycheck for a good long while. If those are the expectations that you already have, go ahead and keep those inside your house, because there's no need to throw that out the window, because that's actually more or less realistic. Now, if one of your expectations is, I'm going to make so much money and I'm going to be the next Joanne Gaines, it's going, probably not. So just throw all that out the window while you can. And when you're throwing things out the window, you have to create a plan. You have to make sure that you have something to go off of. That means both your business and your marketing plan. Those are the 2 most essential plans that you can possibly make up in your business. Without a plan, or it's Benjamin Franklin, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's that simple. Also, understand that cash flow is everything. Know who you're going to owe and how much and when everything is due. Now, that's just part of doing business. How much are you going to invest in yourself? How much are you going to invest in your education? What are you going to owe to your loan officer? What are you going to owe to XYZ company? It's about all those things and making sure that you have a plan to pay those people when you need to. Also, you can't sit there and just hope for leads to come in. It's not possible. What you need to do is that you need to buck up your work ethic, and you need to make sure to increase not only your knowledge about the sector itself, but also your emotional IQ as well. That is very important because you will be dealing with a lot of people. And if you're cold and calloused and just really calculative in your entire efforts and you can't connect with people, that's going to hurt you. In fact, it's going to cause you to fail as well. And I mean that for everything. Also, up your organization. That's going to be very important. Make sure you got all your ducks in a row. I understand a lot of people, I barely have my ducks in a row. My ducks are running around outside running around with penguins and whatnot. So that's just also something to keep in mind. Now, for all you experienced agents out there, I want to ask you a giant, giant favor. If you're an experienced agent that has survived for over the 5-year threshold, and you know what you're talking about, you know how the game is played, help out your fellow real estate agents. Help them out, because a lot of times they're going to be searching for someone to give them advice or how to calculate this deal or how to take care of this special circumstance. They're going to be looking for people like you to go ahead and educate them. Pay it forward. Seriously, pay it forward. Someone has had to have helped you out. I mean, a lot of times success cannot be built on one person. It takes an entire team a majority of times. I don't know of anybody personally that has built an entire business just based off of themselves. They've hired freelancers, they've hired other people. That a lot of times it's built on a team. If If you believe that you don't need to cooperate with other people in order to succeed, again, you're going to fail. Yeah, so with you experienced agents out there, go ahead and offer up your knowledge, hold seminars, go talk at a career day for high school or even career fairs, because a lot of times, especially at career fairs, you're going to meet these people that have this idea of success, and wherein you can help to educate them about what to expect if they anticipate going into real estate. That information is going to be so important to them. It'll be invaluable not only to them but to you as well, because they'll remember, oh yeah, so and so helped me out in terms of actually letting me know what real estate was about, instead of going, oh, it's great, you'll make a lot of money in it today. And I'd rather have someone to tell me the truth about an actual career rather than be like, oh, it's great. It's probably not the best way to go. No one likes a liar. Also, interview experts in your local real estate industry that can help new agents understand everything about the business. So again, calling in your favorite loan officer to help explain different loans and and examples in which they can be used based on personal anecdotes could also aid you as well. The next thing I want to go over is fear of rejection. I see this so often, and it's a major driver for many, many people in real estate. A lot of times they don't succeed because they let their fear of rejection control them. And I totally understand that. I totally empathize with that. I used to work in sales myself. I used to work in recruiting. I used to do all of these things where I had to talk to people constantly. And I had to not only demonstrate that emotional connection with people, but I also had to understand them and what they wanted and what they needed. But at the same time, it's not an easy gig, because oftentimes when I would get on the phone in my regular days and calling up random people going, hey, would you like to be interested? A lot of times I got hung up on, and it took me a good long while for me to register that rejection was just going to be part of the game. Mind you, I graduated also during one of the worst times in U.S. economic history. I graduated in 2010, so that was 2 years after the economic crisis actually happened, and finding a job then was a very rough time. And getting rejected was the name of the game back when I graduated, and I had to get used to that. It wasn't exactly that they were rejecting me myself. It was more that they were asking for maybe too much. There's a joke among my generation, because a lot of us graduated during this time where we could not find, it was next to impossible to find jobs. Where it was going, oh yeah, this guy over here, he wants a master's degree, 30 years of experience, but wants to pay us 10 grand. It's going, what part of that makes sense? But it did happen, and it happened so often that I eventually got used to it. So my recommendation on that front to go ahead and get out of your fear is to essentially go to rejection therapy. What does that mean? It means go out and seek rejection. Go out to any place and seek rejection. A fun game that I like to play whenever I'm traveling at an airport is that I'll go up to the front desk and I'll say, hey, can I get a free upgrade? 99% of the time they will say no. But you know what? Water off a duck's back, because it's one of those things where, you know what? I've gotten used to it by now. I've gotten used to being rejected. It's just a thing that happens. It's part of life. Everyone goes through it. Trust me, you're not the only one out there who's been rejected. I can promise you that. And anybody that says they haven't is lying. But get rejected as often as you can. Make the most outlandish and ridiculous requests of anybody. Say you go out to a fancy restaurant. Go and ask the waiter if you can get the bottle of wine for free. Of course he's going to say no. But the whole point is that not that you're expecting it, but that you're getting yourself used to hearing no, because then it makes the yes all the better. There's a TED Talk that addresses this. I love this guy. I will go ahead and post it in the comments after I'm done here, as well as the link to the NAR business plan. So go ahead and keep an eye out for that. Another thing that a lot of people forget is that they do not work their sphere of influence. They do not work with their past clients. This doesn't really go for any of the newbies out there or for anybody that's thinking of getting their license, but it's more about for the people that already have have somewhat of a client base, they forget the people that they have done business with. Those are your biggest referral sources. So why aren't you using that to your advantage? Why aren't you sending out Christmas cards to them or happy holiday cards during this time of year right now? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you getting in touch with them? Why aren't you inviting them out for lunch? Why are you not doing that? Why are you sitting there and going, oh, gee, I would love some new leads? Sure, you can go ahead and try and get new business all you want, but the better way to go about that would be to work your sphere of influence and then get those existing leads to work for you. That's kind of how that goes. Yes, everybody wants new business and everybody wants to get their name out there and do all that. But if you forget about the people that have put you along through your process, they're going to forget you. And then they're going to forget to refer you to someone that they know. Circle of life, all that. So follow up with everyone ever. Follow up with everyone. Even if you just randomly met someone on a night out, follow up with them. And if they tell you, who are you? Then, all right, fine. You just got rejected. Congratulations. You can go ahead and put that in your rejection count for today. You don't have to do it for the rest of the day. So that's a great thing to go ahead and take into account. Have a plan. Go ahead and just be like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and ask the Whole Foods guy counter if I can go ahead and get my lunch for free. I mean, you never know. The cashier guy could be in a good mood and he could be like, you know what? Yeah. And then just go ahead and give it to you. Who knows? You don't know until you ask. There's also a very handy Inman article that I was reading about how to avoid rejection or what to say to someone whenever they bring up these different types of rejection. Like, suppose you call someone and they say, oh, I can go to X agent for cheaper. And there's a lot of things that you could say to be like, oh, well, yes, I understand that X agent is cheaper, but what are they offering? Something like that. I'll post that in the comments too. The last thing that I want to go over, and I have very limited time to go over this, so I apologize. I kind of went a little bit over about it, unrealistic expectations, but that was really important. The one thing that I would like a lot of people to realize is that there is such thing as a fear of success. It does happen, and it happens to many people. Are you one of those people, though? That's the thing that you have to consider. A lot of people let this control them as well. It's a very tricky thing. It's not exactly easy to comprehend unless you sit there with your thoughts and figure out where they're coming from. This is mostly a psychological thing that happens. People ask these questions about themselves. Well, will people ask more of me that I can't deliver? What else will they ask me? Well, then will this thing create unwanted attention for me? What will this do? And it's controlled a lot by what ifs. And a lot of these what ifs are not valid. They're what ifs and they're in the subjective and hypothetical realm. They have no place in this reality. You are here right now, and that's all that really matters. And you have your plan and go with that. These what ifs, throw them out the window too. Throw them out with your unrealistic expectations. Throw them out with everything else, because that's what truly matters, is that you set realistic expectations, you go ahead and you have a plan, and you have that plan to get rejected, and then you also make sure you understand what's motivating your thoughts to avoid success. And that's just it. Do you not want to put in all the work? Do you not want to put in all the work only to realize that you fail in the end? I mean, that does happen. There is, for anybody who is a fan of Star Trek out there, there was a quote from Jean-Luc Picard where he says, the hardest thing in life that you can realize is that sometimes you try your best and you still fail. It does happen. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but that's just it. Sometimes you do that and you still fail. But that's why you go to rejection therapy, is that way if that does happen, they can be like, you know what? It's fine. Yeah, it didn't work, but now I know that it won't work. Now I know it's not for me. And that's totally fine. That's what people are so against, is that there is something going on within our society that says, oh, failure, rejection is bad. It's going, people forget that this can be rewritten as a learning experience. What can I learn from this experience? What can I take away from this? What did this rejection teach me about what I can do in the future? Sure, you may have messed it up, but now you know for your own reference in the future. Do you want to stay where you are, or do you want to grow into someone that's successful and knows how to work the game? That choice is up to you. So if you guys have any further thoughts, or you have any other reasons as to why you think agents fail in the first place, go ahead and let me know. Go ahead and write it in the comments. I'd be more than happy to go to have a conversation, to talk with you about any of my philosophical wonders. I always look forward to people saying hi. So if you have any suggestions, or if there's a topic that you all want to know more about, let me know. I would be more than happy to go ahead and put on an event that details everything about marketing and everything about real estate. I'll be happy to do so. You just have to let me know. So that will be the end for today. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you soon. Thanks, guys.